Oh, my love. That was tough. Another day in lockdown.
Day 272.
Welcome to this video. I have been really excited to film this with John today. We are struggling a little bit with the whole lockdown. It's been emotionally and mentally very difficult. So we're just gonna do it, and
Gonna plow on and plod along.
with all that we've gone through, just being together has been really rewarding, which is kind of what this whole video is about, the journey that God's brought us on. Basically, I have written down all of our questions. Number one was any advice you would give yourselves before getting married?
If you're engaged, recommend pre-marriage counselling, the HDB one, which was over Zoom because it was still lockdown. Friday nights we would Zoom in with our friends who would then show us the video series, and it would kind of tackle all the questions you wouldn't have necessarily thought to do or think about, like kids, finances, sex. So it just gets you thinking about that and your communication style and how to handle conflict, which we'll cover later. And then also, if you're engaged, you want to kind of talk about cultural differences or family background, how you're going to handle money and joint finances, all that kind of stuff. Timothy Keller's book's really good.
Because you come in with your own family upbringings and differences and your expectations. A lot of times when people fall in love and they get like straight into marriage, a lot is just not talked about. List a whole bunch of things in the link down below or beside the frame so you guys can see. What is your best advice for those who are single but are waiting for the right one? Not hang around waiting, but to focus on yourself, to focus on your goals and what you're passionate about. Steward that time, steward what you love. Career is really important, or you want to travel more. Focus on things that are on your health or just friendships, just family, that kind of stuff. To put Jesus first instead of trying to like get with someone. I wrote down guys and girls are really attracted to people who are in their lane, doing what they love and thriving in who they are. If you become the best version of yourself, then you will attract someone who is going to be on the same page as you. We're constantly discovering who we are and what we love. I think in that journey you then meet someone who's right for you. When I started pursuing what I really loved and what was important to me, I was able to meet you.
Yeah, my personality, I did like loads of, Myers-Briggs and stuff, and they always come up with like relationship advice, and they were like, your personality type thrives by just being yourself and doing what you do. But I was like, well, that's just not for my personality type. That's kind of for everybody, really. Be doing what you love and being passionate, trying to improve yourself as much as possible, and then it will come along afterwards.
Coffee. Yeah, because our cafeteria is broken. Oh, is it darker? What were some boundaries that you both had to establish between your guy and girl pals?
We weren't really sure with this question what was kind of meant, so we broke it down into the two various options. If I was hanging out with a girl one-on-one or Mary was hanging out with a guy, what are the boundaries with that? Versus just hanging out with my guy friends and Mary hanging out with her girlfriends.
We hung out with people who we've been friends with long term, felt like brothers or sisters to us. When we were dating, we didn't really have a problem with each other going out and hanging out with someone else because we had that trust factor, and we were also in a long distance relationship, so we couldn't really hang out together. It was like a set time every day on FaceTime.
I think it also depends on context as well. Like one of my friends that I'd not seen in like a couple of years was suddenly in town. You'd probably be fine with me going to see them for a coffee as like a one-off half an hour thing because I'd not seen them in years. Might be an old uni friend or something, and vice versa. But if it was like started to kind of that person be more assertive in wanting to see you more and more often in like coffee shops or even like more private settings, that's when like the boundaries would need to be clearer.
Yeah, so there have been situations where someone has feelings for their friend who is married. If it comes to that, you have to just decide not to meet up with that person. It's healthier for you, it's healthier for the other person, it's healthy for your marriage, to protect your marriage and your trust between you and your spouse. You're meeting in kind of a situation where it's a wedding or a conference, or you're with a whole bunch of other young adults and you're kind of like catching up over dinner when you're all in a big group. I think like those kind of situations are really good if you're wanting to be with someone who, is like a long-term family friend or someone you've known from university or high school. I think you just know kind of what's the right thing to do, especially if you're married. I think it's slightly different when you're dating, but when you're married especially, you have to have those boundaries and to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah. And regarding answer to this question about spending time with others outside of your marriage, we think that's kind of like fundamental. Balance the time and prioritize your spouse, but at the same time it's equally important for me to go and see my guy friends and you to go and see your girlfriends, to just to have friendships and relationships with other people outside of your marriage as well, and not just become an insular and isolated item. We all need friendships outside of our own marriage, and that's what kind of helps the marriage grow stronger. I think it's really important to hang out with people outside of your marriage. It's just getting the balance right. Like, we haven't been able to do it that much because we got married and it was like groups of 6 people maximum, and then that was basically cancelled. When we can, we want to get the balance right. Trying to plan it together and make sure that you're still seeing each other in evenings, like during the week, not seeing, oh, I'm with this guy friend this day and then you're out the next day, but trying to get that balance right.
Kind of discussing your expectations, showing each other's like schedules to see kind of what you're doing, and just planning ahead. Like if you want to see a friend, letting your spouse know that, hey, I'm going to be gone from this time to this time, just for each other to have those thriving friendships. So then like it kind of adds to your marriage, like when you see each other again, and not just become like isolated, like what John said. I just wanted to add a bit to what we were saying about seeing who's the opposite sex, not see that person in a very private space, like at a house where it's just you and them, having your spouse there, just going somewhere that is a really public place to meet up, having wisdom about it. What were most of your conflicts about, and how did you resolve them? I've got 2 questions about this. The other one was, how do you guys deal with conflict?
There's like 2 kind of conflict types, the rhino and the hedgehog. Like in a conflict, the rhino will be the person who will get like really aggressive and defensive if you try and bring something up, and the hedgehog will be the person that will kind of retreat into themselves and become really insulated and almost like wrap themselves up into a ball. You're probably a hedgehog. If we do have arguments, you get really quiet.
But I'm really good with confrontation though.
Yeah.
Like I'll confront about something, but then if I feel like I can't verbalize all that's going on in there, I'd rather just not say it. Sometimes you'll really want to know what's going on, but at the same time, like I'm still trying to process everything.
Yeah, whereas I can probably be a little bit more of a rhino. I can get a bit more like, not argumentative, but not even shouty.
You
kind
don't
of more vocal.
ever shout.
I don't really shout.
You don't get angry and stuff either.
No,
you just
vocal.
get frustrated.
Yeah, I just get frustrated.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah, it's like understanding those 2 dynamics and kind of working at which ones you are, and then being able to understand compromise. Never let the sun
go down on your anger.
Yeah, I was always taught as a kid, so I never like going to sleep angry at you. I like to try and kind of resolve it before we go to bed, cleared for the next day, rather than just like lingering over everything. In regards to anything we do have conflict about, most people argue about money.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, but we don't really argue about that.
I've like kind of gone on a journey of minimalism, so I want to like spend as less as possible. I want to spend something that's probably going to invest into education or business or something like that.
Yeah.
We're usually on the same page about finances.
The talks we have had, a lot have been about kind of cultural differences, like,
or family upbringings,
yeah,
or
because
kind of the expectations of what life looks like.
There's a lot of differences between a British family and an American or an Australian one.
And I'm from 3 different cultures.
Yeah.
Mixing that all together, I think there's a lot of situations where you could miss like each other, but like having to really communicate it. I can't be like someone who just sort of goes around it. I have to know and have it communicated to me really clearly. I can't just guess. I can't do that.
Because British culture, like people will kind of, there'll be the issue in the centre and then everyone will kind of say things around it. British people will obviously know what other people are saying and understand what they think without then someone saying it direct, because obviously we know that the tones, the language, the body language, all of the dance really, but kind of American and Australian culture is more confrontational. In regards to resolving conflict, I think just listening is the key, and rather than just trying to argue your point across, actually shut up for a second and listen to what they have to say and try to empathise with them and understand where they're coming from, and then reply after as a result of that, and see if either what the middle ground is or just appreciate that there are going to be differences and just learning to live with them.
I wrote down that most of the conflict that happens for us stems from not completely trusting or leaning on God with everything that's gone on, long distance, and then COVID, and all of the transitions from dating into marriage. It's just been very unstable, uncertain, just different from a lot of normal situations. We've just had to handle it very differently, which is fine. I know a lot of couples, it's becoming more common for it to be like that. It's good that we're going through this so we can help other couples who go through the same thing. Trying to do things in our own understanding, making things happen in our own strength, being from the 2 different cultures, like John said, different family upbringings, trying to figure out where God is leading us to live in, being stuck in COVID, while transitioning. Those have been the main things for us. What John said, to listen, to communicate, not presume that we know what each other's thinking about, but actually talking it out and having weekly check-ins, really asking each other, how are you feeling, what's going on, improving from there, instead of assuming that you're meeting that other person's needs or that they feel a certain way.
Because a lot of conflict stems from kind of a build-up of miscommunication as well. It culminates from like maybe a couple of days or a couple of weeks and stuff into like a bigger issue. The more you can focus on your communication skills with each other, the more likely you are to avoid conflict, because you're putting in those kind of daily checks with each other.
Conflict is healthy. Like, at least you have your two different point of views. You're not just trying to mold into one person. That'd be very boring. The opposites attract. So that's one thing to consider. It's like, you don't just marry someone. Most people don't marry people who are just exactly like them. I mean, for those who do, I've heard a lot about people actually clashing because they have the exact same personality types. Then they have to also work through this exact same thing. Okay.
Can I make a coffee quickly?
Yeah.
Whilst you look at that next one. Quick coffee break. Do you want one as well?
Yes. Just had a coffee break in these wonderful Kinto mugs.
11:30, very sleepy. So need an extra boost.
I think we're kind of struggling, but it's okay. We're making it happen. This was quite a juicy question. Number 5 was, what was your first time like waiting till marriage?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say was like nothing like the movies, because sex is in Hollywood films is unrealistic and not an accurate portrayal. I never watched porn growing up. Like, I saw it once at a house party when I was 18, and that was because I was like, some people at college kind of knew that I didn't do porn or was a virgin, so I thought it'd be funny to lock me in a room and put porn on a laptop. So I managed to get out. So yeah, I had kind of no real, like, I'd had basic sex education classes, but I didn't really know practicalities of it all. Got recommended a good book on sex to read, which kind of gives more practical information, but also like what sex is from a Christian perspective. It was really special. It's like hadn't had sex with anyone else before, so it's special to kind of go in that time and figure it all out together without kind of any expectations or any like preconceived ideas from experiences and stuff. So that was really special in just kind of being able to experience it like that. But yeah, it's not like the movies at all. Yeah, I think every couple is different, and it's just important to kind of figure it out together, and it's a journey. Don't expect it to be kind of the most amazing thing in the world the first time you try it, because a whole lifetime of it to try and learn and to journey and to kind of grow in it all.
Yeah, it was definitely really special. When I was younger, around when I was 12, I decided that I wasn't going to have sex with anyone until I got married, and for me that was like a really strong decision that I was just not gonna stray from. And I think when I finally met John and we decided to commit for the rest of our lives, going into that commitment was so important for me. My virginity and giving myself away was something that was really valuable and priceless. In my heart, I knew that God created sex to be something so beautiful and so cherished. It's something that bonds two people together. It's not just a physical thing, but spiritually, emotionally, body, soul, and spirit, you let you two become one person. You really feel the shift. Like, what first time was definitely not what I expected, but it was still so good to be able to like just even be in the same house and be able to like share a bed and all of that. Waiting till marriage for our first time was so worth it. Having someone to talk to who was kind of like a doctor, someone who was like a sisterly person to me in a doctor role that could explain to me all the stuff I was experiencing and things that I learned in the book that we read together. I even suggested that book to a few other people who've asked, but it's just been so helpful because I feel like sex normally is kind of just talked about in a very textbook way in school. It's like detached from all the emotions and the tie that you have with someone, whereas like you grow up not knowing the weightiness of it, be able to learn a lot about it and then experience it. Just all of the waiting just made it so worth it.
Like setting yourself up for like the right expectations for the first time is healthy, because otherwise it can set up for like disappointment or belief that one of you is a failure or that kind of stuff. So taking time to kind of research and delve it into a bit more is really good.
I think it's one of the most beautiful things that happens between two people, and it's from like a place of love, and then from that you have children and stuff. I think our generation needs to talk more about it in a healthy way, and yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. Do you know each other's love languages?
Yes.
We do.
When I was 15 in school, I had like a lesson every Friday called Life Choices. 1 week they brought in a married couple, and then we all got to write questions down for them on pieces of paper anonymously, and they then answered them all. They started talking about love languages, and I was like, what on earth is this? But Yeah, I was 16 at the time. My love languages are quality time and physical touch, top two. Quality time is like way up at the top, and then it drops down to physical touch, and then the rest are all like zero. Apparently I've been quality time like most of my life, like it hasn't really changed. Like mum would say, your love language is always quality times, because when you were like 5, you would just want to, even if I was just driving to the petrol station, you'd want to come and sit in the car and not even say anything, would just be
Cute.
there. Or, like if I was going to get groceries for like 10 minutes, you'd want to come and run around. So I don't think mine's really changed that much. Yours is
Mine is physical touch and then words of affirmation.
See, I know yours as well.
We did the quiz together when we first started dating, and then my physical touch one was really high up, and then words of affirmation has always been clearly one of the most important things. I think like if someone were to give me a card or say a really encouraging word or to understand me in a conversation, encourage me, that's like a huge deal. So whenever John goes out of his way to intentionally encourage me, that is like just the best thing ever. This helped us to be intentional with our relationship.
Do you know what each other's love languages are? The way I receive love might not be the way that you need love. So you need to figure out what each other's are so you can then adjust and learn. Because for example, I'm rubbish at giving words of affirmation because that's not how I receive love at all.
But I tend to like do that to
try,
you.
but that just doesn't go straight through. That's nice, but like doesn't really mean anything as much as going to the beach or grabbing a Starbucks or having a hug. But then that's something that I need to learn is how to give words of affirmation, because that's how you receive love. It's like trying to grow those skills in those other areas. Yeah, for you, COVID was difficult because obviously we were in separate houses before we got married. When it was socially distant walks, you were like, you wanted to just give me a hug. I'm like, no, I'm not allowed. You have to be 2 meters apart.
And then I wasn't getting any physical touch at all during that time.
Apart from the dog.
And that was so horrible. If you're in a family or in a relationship, or if you're in a tight kind of like team with colleagues, finding out what their love language is so interesting, and it helps you build that trust and help a relationship be really healthy.
Yeah.
But I think it's a game changer knowing love languages.
Were there any moments in your relationship where both of you felt jealous? Well, I guess jealousy comes from kind of either FOMO or comparing yourself to someone else. With the social media age, that's kind of amplified because everyone has their filtered, beautiful life on Instagram and Facebook. It's important to realise that everyone's going through their own struggle, their own life path. Any time that we felt jealous was if I was stuck in England and I could see that Mary was having like all the fun in Instagram in the sun and it was like winter and dark over here. I'm kind of jealous that she was back in Brisbane and I was kind of stuck in Basingstoke. And then when you got to England and you were living with my uncle and aunt, you were kind of a bit jealous sometimes that you couldn't be in the same household, me and my parents and my family, and that was hard for you. Apart from that,
that's about it.
I mean, and also like seeing all of our Australian friends on Instagram, how well Australia's handled COVID. And like seeing everyone at parties and weddings and big gatherings and church and community events, and we're like, we've had no church for over a year, no gatherings of more than 6 since March 2020. We have both felt jealous.
But not wanting to...
serious jealousy or like acting upon it. It's just realising that...
acknowledging those feelings and being like, that's the way it is.
Yeah, as we're humans, so... And reasons why we're kind of feeling jealous are for reasons that are beyond our control rather than anything that we can actually do about it. But yeah, I don't think really we've both been jealous apart from geographical location because of when we were long distance and stuff. Yeah, I think it's important just to always realise that everyone's going through difficult things and everyone's struggling with something. There might be plenty of people that are jealous of what you post on social media, but then you're jealous of other people. So like it's just like a long cycle. So I think it's important to realise that Instagram and social media is a filter, and that's not what real life is like. The struggles that you're going through are the same struggles that other people are going through that we're just good at hiding.
Yeah. That's good. Well, that was well said. I don't need to say anything. Okay.
The last question then was, how do I get a relationship? That was a jokey one, but we thought we'd cover this anyway. From a guy and girl's perspective. Yeah, it came with LOL.
Oh, it's probably half, I don't need a guy, but at the same time, I want a guy.
From a guy's perspective, how do you get a relationship?
Juicy.
I would say back to kind of the earlier question is just be yourself and focus on your passions and kind of work on yourself as a character. Don't always just be going out trying to get a girl, but actually just take time to invest in yourself first. But then also having the courage to then ask someone out rather than just kind of be nice to a girl and hope that something happens. You've got to take the courage to step up and ask without the fear of rejection. Easier said than done. You just do it and face the rejection if they say no and just move on. As a guy, also girls, it's important, don't be afraid to ask guys out as well. I think traditionally we're kind of stuck in the traditional rules of it's the guy that should ask the girl out and then pursue them. But you were the one that really initiated it with me. Like, I asked you out on an official date. You were the first one, like, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's go grab coffee, just us two. And you kind of started it, and then I started pursuing afterwards. So I feel girls should be allowed to do the initial connection, do the initial questioning, and should be the guy to kind of pursue afterwards if that's what he feels like is right. So I feel like girls should also not like have the fear of rejection and be more courageous as well.
I knew that if I was going to meet someone who was going to like me for me and pursue me, I just needed to be myself and to be as relaxed. You know, when you kind of meet someone you're really attracted to and then you freeze up and then you can't be yourself, relinquishing any expectations of, I have to make this work, I have to be impressive, putting that all down. Okay, friendship first, and see where this goes, and be as authentically yourself as possible.
Yeah.
That is the person that your future spouse will want to marry you for, like just to be with the authentic version of you.
Because we spent like a month or so like just as friends hanging out before it kind of got more serious. It was just kind of getting to know each other, like whether that was going for coffee or me giving you a photography lesson, and kind of some road trips and stuff, because I couldn't drive at the time because of health reasons. You were like, well, let's go here and I can show you this beach. I've not really seen anywhere else. We were just kind of getting to know each other as friends and kind of hanging out first and then taking it more seriously afterwards. It's good to just get out of like the really kind of strict thing that as soon as you ask someone out, it's got to lead straight to marriage. It's important just to hang out as friends to begin with and see where it goes, and you might decide after maybe 1 or 2 times hanging out that actually it's not something you want to pursue more, but you're grateful for the friendship, or you're both like, oh, maybe we do want to take this further. Grabbing a coffee or like going out for a road trip or
doing something fun together.
Yeah, doesn't necessarily have to lead to something more serious. It's just you're both exploring and seeing what the dynamic's like.
Yeah, I shared in another video that it wasn't until I picked him up that I felt attracted to him. Before that, it was always wanting to get to know him as a friend. I wanted to be setting the culture of, I had always just hung out with girls and I had never really hung out with another guy. And because I felt really kind of peaceful and felt like had a really good feeling about John, I was like, wow, he's really interesting and from a different country. So for me, that was quite special to be able to hang out with someone kind of different from me. From there, I didn't have expectations of him being my future husband. He seems like a really cool person. Sometimes you make the best friendships out of stuff that doesn't work out, and then other times like you go into something just not expecting a relationship, but then you end up being with like the person you marry. He didn't have that much time left in Australia. I think I would have taken it more slowly, initiating less if I knew that he would have had more time in Australia at a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it was kind of more intense.
It was okay, like he's gonna go and then I probably won't see him. So I just wanted to see if this would work out. We went on official first date. From there on, we made it official.
That evening, yes.
I think God told me a lot about my future spouse and about John, because our journey to be together has been so tough. If it wasn't for God's word to me that have been really specific and clear, I would have felt it's just been like hitting a lot of walls trying to be together. Once we were together, I just love being with you, and it's just been so cool like how we've grown. But I hope that answers the question, and I really hope you can meet your person and have the best love story ever. God is an expert in that department. But I think just wanting to kind of mention that there's a few things we probably haven't gone into a lot of detail just because we're trying to keep it short. If you feel like we didn't fully answer the question, I know that there's
comment below.
Yeah, just comment below or ask. Yeah,
we might have to do a second video if people ask too many questions.
I think with relationships, it's a very complex, great thing about life, but it's really complex and there's a lot of ways to answer it and there's a lot of layers. So then when you're trying to fit it all into a YouTube video and you're trying to sum it all up, it does feel like it's a rush sometimes. If you feel like we have kind of just skimmed the surface, we really have. Relationships and love, very deep and complex topic that can be approached in many different ways. Hope that has been good, and thank you. And we love just having this time to like talk about it. It really helps us think about why we do what we do. Gratitude has been something that's carried us through all of this. We will see you next time, so have a great week and take care of your health and take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye.